no good. Rebounded by Anthony. 2 seconds left. Anthony for the win. Got it! Rolls it! Cole Anthony gives the Magic a victory.
Close Up Magic.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Close Up Magic. I'm your host, Stephen Cameron. And as always, we got my right-hand man, Malik Grady. What's going on, sir? How are you this evening?
Oh, back in black, back ready for the season. Just living the dream, man. It's good to be back with the Close Up Magic, especially with the season right here. I can't believe we made it. We struggled, we scratched, we clawed to get here, but we somehow made it, man. It's dope.
Yeah, we had to switch our recording schedule around this week. We typically always upload on Tuesday nights anyway, so it wasn't a big deal. But we were supposed to record on Monday. For different reasons, we're recording tonight on Tuesday, and I was watching the Philadelphia 76ers go up against the Boston Celtics. I was watching Golden State Warriors ring ceremony before we started recording, and it was just nice to see some regular season basketball and get some rings on some people's fingers. I thought that was a lot of fun. And now here we are. We're getting ready, recording a podcast about the Orlando Magic. They have their season opener tomorrow, probably the day you guys are all listening to this podcast on Wednesday. Wednesday the 19th versus the Detroit Pistons in Detroit. So that's really exciting. I believe that is 4 p.m. or 4:30 Eastern, I believe, is tip off for that. So that's really exciting.
Eastern and then 4:30 where you're at and all. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm specific. 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Western.
Coast
I'm West Coast. You guys all know that. Let's get into the housekeeping. Let's get into our big announcement. And then we'll get into the show. So housekeeping, season's here. Go get your merch. Get yourself a Close Up Magic hat. Get yourself a Close Up Magic t-shirt. Whatever you want. There's tons of options on there. Mugs, all sorts of little things. So go to the link in the show description to get your Close Up Magic merch. It's a lot of fun. We couldn't do the Close Up Magic merch if it wasn't for our awesome network, 19 Media Group. They have lots of really good podcasts up there. Go ahead, give them a shout, give them a follow. They're constantly putting out multiple new episodes a week. You got different types of sports. You have music. You got pop culture. There's lots of stuff out there. So check out 19mediagroup.com and please make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that thumbs up button. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Good Pods, please give us a review. It really does help us out on the rankings and the searchability and stuff like that. We'd really appreciate it. So, Mike, we have an announcement, kind of a fun one. We're finally taking the step. A lot of other Magic podcasts who we respect and appreciate and even did some consulting with on taking this step. And it was great. They really encouraged us. Shout out Ozone Pod. But we are starting our own Patreon page, and we're really excited about it. We've been talking about it for a few months now. We finally tested the bugs. We did kind of like a soft launch with some individuals that we DM'd the last couple of weeks to kind of test the systems, get it going. But it's officially here. And you can click the show links. You're going to click the link in the show. It's going to be the very first thing you see. Patreon, before you even see the show detail, click that link. That's going to get you to the information to be able to sign up. We have 2 tiers that are really, we think, affordable and should be attractive to you all. But if they're not, we're going to continue to tweak things. But before we go into the 2 tiers, the purpose of doing these Patreons is to give back to the community, and to improve this show. We're not going to be taking a profit. At least we're not planning to as of this point. If things get really crazy, maybe we might take a little bit at the future, but that's not even a conversation in our thoughts right now. But for the foreseeable future, everything that we earn off Patreon goes back into the show. We want to stop recording this show on Zoom. There's different platforms that we can use to really update and boost our our production value. It costs
Make a better
money.
show, yeah.
We don't make enough money off of the ads that we're running right now. We want to get there. So we're going to be using the money that we get from Patreon to boost the quality, hopefully potentially as soon as next week. We want to do giveaways with merch and tickets to games and maybe like some gift cards to the Magic store or different things. We're going to be doing giveaways, and to kick that off, depending on what tier you sign up for, it could be 10 people, could be the first 10 people, could be 12 people, but right around that number, as soon as we hit the specific number of revenue coming in, we're going to kick off our first giveaway. You're going to have a chance, if you're selected, if you're the winner, you're going to have a chance to buy yourself either a Close-Up Magic t-shirt or hat or a Orlando Magic t-shirt. Those are going to be your three options: Close-Up Magic hat, Close-Up Magic t-shirt, or Orlando Magic t-shirt. If you got to be the first, we're going to say 12. First 12 Patreons that join are going to have a chance inclusively just for those 12. Anyone that joins afterwards, you'll be in the next giveaway, but the first 12 people will be joining, will have a chance to win some swag that is paid for in a sense by your donations and by the other supporters of the Patreon. So Malik, let's get into the two tiers. Or before we go into the two tiers, do you have anything you want to add there?
Well, I actually think it's a nice opportunity for us to try to connect with the people who supported us and are kind of looking out for us as a podcast and as people and all, and have a little more of a community where we can interact with them, engage with them the way we personally do as Magic fans and as basketball fans, that kind of thing. So just really looking forward to, get into that because it's something that we're very passionate about, the Magic. We're very passionate about Magic fans. And it's a real opportunity, like I said, for us to give back and make a better show for you guys, but also connect with people individually and just kind of as a community. So that's kind of what I wanted to say. Yeah.
You hit some good notes there, Malik. And yeah, it is about you guys. I mean, we have some awesome conversations and DMs on a regular basis. So why not like get it in a little bit more professional, organized fashion by this Patreon program that we're running. So the two tiers, we have a $5 tier and a $10 tier. Our $5 tier is called the supporter section tier. It includes access to the Discord channel. We are starting a Close-Up Magic Discord channel where we talk about upcoming guests that are on the show. You're going to have a chance to give show feedback, pitch show topics for us, ask questions to guests that are coming on the show. There's giveaway announcements in there, and then we just talk about Magic nonstop and other aspects of the NBA. It's a really good spot. It's already been starting to roll a little bit. We love that. The next thing you're going to have is automatic entries into giveaways. There might be some giveaways that we do from time to time that are expanded outside of our Patrons, but you will always be automatically entered into them. And then obviously, if you are a Patreon, you'll always be entered into the Patreon only giveaways. And like I said, we're going to have our first giveaway as soon as we hit 12 people. And then we're going to have a supporting members page on our website. So you'll always have a spot called out that is honoring you, thanking you for us on our website. That's always going to be there. It's never going to go away. And that's our $5 page. It's Discord giveaways, and your name added to our honor page on our supporter page on the website. The $10 tier is pretty cool. So it's all the same things. We're going to do bi-monthly roundtable video roundtables that eventually might get up to monthly, but we're going to start small, see how it works because we both got families and children, and we're going to see how it works within our current schedule. So our first roundtable will probably be in November, since we're starting this in October, middle of October. We'll do one in November, where we're just going to get together for an hour or so and just chat Magic basketball, which will be really fun. Again, your name is going to be added to the Patreon supporting page on the website. You're going to have early access to video and audio podcasts. Now, this is a little bit more towards like the international folks and the late night folks, because a lot of times I'm uploading these podcasts at night. But we're going to try and give you guys about a 10 to 12 hour window in advance before it goes live to the public the next day, which might means we have a little bit more of a schedule for when it goes live. Maybe it's 10 a.m. every Wednesday, but that gives the patrons a little bit more advance notice to listen to it. We're still kind of tweak that out and see how that works, but you're going to get advanced watchability and viewability to and listenability to the show. And then when we do have guests, we're going to give you specifically this tier the opportunities to ask questions to the guests. Now, we're not going to be able to, if this tier gets too big, we're not going to be able to take every question, but we are going to, with every guest, give you a heads up and have your question a chance to be selected to be asked to players, media members, fans, whoever we might be having coming on. And all that's going to be done through the Discord, which you will have access to as well. So we're really excited about it. If you have the means and you enjoy this show and you'd like to support us, we'd really appreciate it. If your $5 tier, the supporter section, then you have your $10 tier, the courtside section, which gives you two different options. And if you think we need to continue to add and tweak those things, let us know. We're definitely open. Nothing set in stone. We're open to making adjustments as this program goes.
Yeah, I mean, we just appreciate you guys listening, supporting. We appreciate everybody who's retweeted and engaged us online and all. And this is just another step for if you believe in us to be able to be a part of what we're trying to build and that kind of thing. So we look forward to connecting with you guys more and making the Close-Up Magic as great as we can make it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, Malik, you had something you wanted to talk about before we got into our awesome interview with CJ Hill. CJ Hill is a media member with the Close-Up Magic. He was just at the Magic versus Cavs preseason closer, the end of preseason. He got to do media sessions with Coach Mosley. And then we have just an awesome conversation about kind of our thoughts at the end of preseason going into the regular season. At the very end, we do a round of rapid fire with some really fun questions, some really good conversation in this. But before we get into that interview, I'm going to pass it back to you, Malik.
Well, I did want to look back. Last week, we did have a spirited debate about the past rankings. And we talked about opening up to the fans and saying who was right and who was wrong. We were talking about the definition of league pass rankings and what it meant and how many people knew this and that and the other. And after a week, it's basically come out that we're both a little right, both a little misunderstood in how it all came down. I felt like one good shout out, Adam Papagiorgio of the Penny and Pots podcast kind of weighed in on my side about the league pass rankings. But Stephen Cameron, my co-host, obviously kind of got the big dog to weigh in on his side when the Chris Vernon show, Chris Vernon himself kind of weighed in and says, oh, yeah, we were talking about teams that don't have national TV games. That's the only way to see
non-contenders.
Kevin even listed the number of national games teams have. So considering how much both Stephen and I love the mismatch and listen to, Kevin O'Connor and Chris Vernon talk, I was like, well, I guess I got to give a lot of weight to Chris Vernon weighing in and saying that my dude was right and all. But all in good fun. It's interesting how league pass rankings, when you're looking at from a national perspective versus how a lot of Magic fans view it and a lot of people in smaller markets where we're like, hey, listen, this is the only way people get to look at us and think about us versus just looking at on a global level, that kind of thing. So
yeah, totally.
Shout out to Stephen for, as always, kind of having his pulse on the Magic fandom, that kind of thing. I think maybe I lost a little touch with that and all that, but either way, it's a really good, interesting debate about league pass rankings and how excited we are to watch the NBA this season. So.
Well, and I'll just touch right there too. And I think you said most everything great there. There's not much I need to add, but I think I will say league pass rankings, the way I was talking about it, is totally different for international fans where everything is league pass. Yeah. And that is something I didn't necessarily think about. But, again, there's sort of two different versions of this conversation that we got into, and we're not going to rehash it all right now. But, it's just fun how we because we both re-listened to the segment to see if we went overboard. And of course we did. That's what we do. And then we, did some more field scouting and gathering. And we were literally talking about the the argument, the debate in our DMs and our, text back and forth. And I started playing the mismatch, and they had this whole segment of League Pass teams, and it was presented non-contenders, low League Pass or low national televised games. It was just so organically fit into the conversation we were already having the other day. So anyways, all that being said, fun little follow-up to last week's episode. And if you want to hear that obnoxious debate that we had, it's towards the very end of the episode, which was pretty fun. So with all that being said, thanks for tuning in. Please enjoy this episode with CJ Hill, and let's go Magic. Game day. All right, everyone. Like I said in the intro, we got CJ Hill representing fresh off the very last preseason game at Amway Center. CJ, also your very first time at Amway for a game, because your first experience was the draft party.
Yes, sir.
CJ, welcome to the show.
Appreciate it, guys. Appreciate it.
You're a fan from Washington, now living in Orlando, so now you can go and do the thing. So
living a dream.
CJ, I gotta ask, I'm just gonna jump right into it, right? It was your first time at a game, but also first time at a game as media.
Yes, sir.
You're one of our local guys. You're gonna be covering some games for us throughout the season. You did a great job from, what Dan Savage said. He followed up with me a couple days later,
awesome.
and whatnot. Cool. But, quick minute, like, what was your experience like covering a game for the first time and seeing the Magic play in Amway for the first time?
So the experience was awesome. Got a chance to meet president of basketball operations as I walked into the arena. So that was pretty cool.
Hold up. You met him as you walked in the arena. I know you told us before, but go over that.
Yeah, so I got there kind of late, so I couldn't park I guess where we were supposed to park at. So I parked down the street, and as I was walking up Church Street, he was coming to go into the old side where the practice part was, where they used to practice at. So we talked about maybe 5-10 minutes as we walked down the sidewalk. It's pretty cool. He helped me get into the building, so nice. I definitely appreciate that.
Gave you his card. I got you.
Yeah, he called me sometime. I'm like, all right, cool.
We're texty friends now.
Yeah, we definitely buddies now. We know each other. So got in the building, picked up my media pass. And from there, it was just an adventure. I was texting Malik the entire time while I give him a phone call, like, hey, I don't think I'm in the right area. So it's cool because I ran into LeBron Prophet as I was coming in to pick up my media pass. So he picks his up, I pick mine up. I didn't even know the difference between our passes at all. So he's walking straight to the court. I'm right behind him. And as I come out the tunnel to get into the court, security goes, I don't think you can be down here. Your pass doesn't have a C on it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, they escort me to the media press box. And as I'm maneuvering through Amway, I'm just meeting people and just bumping into people. So it was a good experience.
So you're saying basically 10 minutes in, you've already chopped it up
lost.
with Weltman.
Yeah,
you've exchanged things with him, talk it up.
Yes, sir.
You've already been escorted from the court.
Yes, sir.
Like fake Clay Thompson.
Yes.
Malik, I was just gonna say, well, at least we know Amway security is better than the Golden State.
Better than Golden State. Top notch. Guy was like, hey, hold on. I'm like, and the whole time in myself, I'm like, man, it's my first game. Like nobody's here to show me where to go. And I end up in the worst place you could actually end up, you know what I mean, to get in trouble. So
or the best place.
Right. Hey.
Yeah, so actually I saw Bobo. He was warming up. He is probably 8 feet tall.
the Babadook.
Yeah, he is a very tall human being.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, man, it was cool. Once I got to the top where the press box was, just looking down on the court, it was cool. Got to see Chuma and Mo warm up, Mo Wagner warm up. So yeah, man, it was definitely a good experience. I'm ready to do it again, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's one of those moments. It's one of those moments when you trying to soak it all in, but you can't soak it all in because you got to pay attention to doing your job. So
Yeah.
But it was definitely a good experience.
Now, you
awesome,
said
man.
you were chopping it up with Weltman walking in.
Yes, sir.
Give you any inside information?
I wanted
Colts
to.
opening night. What's
I wanted to crack off a few questions. I was like, nah, I'm good. I was like, you're doing an awesome job, man. We appreciate what you're doing for us.
Off the record, Mr. Wellman.
Yeah.
You ever heard of the close-up magic?
Right.
Break
So
some
he asked me.
news.
He actually asked me. I was like, he recovered my first game, just trying to find my way around. He was like, oh, who are you here with? And I was like, the close-up magic. He was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll keep that in mind. I was like, man, I appreciate it. So
way to represent CJ.
Yeah, I plugged this in. Yeah,
nice,
got us a nice little plug with the boss man. So it was cool.
Awesome. Well, dude, so you got to watch the game. It was a great game. I think a nice way to end preseason. We can get into like some final preseason thoughts here in a second, but I know media session was a little weird that night for you.
Yes.
After coach, they basically came in and said, all right, we ain't going to do any player.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, we're good.
So my question for you is, what were some of the takeaways before we get into your question that you asked coach specifically? What were some of the other takeaways you got from that media availability with coach to kind of wrap up the preseason?
He's very down to earth. I felt like he's just like a normal guy. Kobe Price from Orlando Sentinel, he was asking a couple questions and seemed just like a normal person. Like you always see these people, like as fans, we see so much on Twitter and stuff like that, but to actually, sit in the same room and it just felt like we were just like how us three right now are. But just all three of us in person. It wasn't really what we would think it would be. It's just more straightforward. I felt like everybody was just hanging out and just asking questions. So
nice, very collegial. I like it.
Yeah, it was just no pressure at all. I was nervous, because like I said before, we to us there's like fans and just normal people. These are like the upper echelon people. You know what I mean? So for us just to sit in the room and just ask a question, he just came off as a normal person. So I can see how his personality and the way his vibe, can help the team, especially with us being so young.
Right.
He definitely has that charisma to him, to help the young guys out.
Yeah, I kind of felt that same way. Obviously, I think his beard game is a little more on point than ours is. That's what I always admire with Coach Mosley. The beard game is on point.
Coach Mosley might be like the most handsome coach in the NBA. I'm just
he's sharp.
He's
he's got it going on.
He's sharp. He's sharp.
Yeah,
definitely.
But yeah, I got that same feeling, and I like how he kind of switches back and forth between being easygoing, but then that intensity, the specificity of talking about the game, and recalling certain facts and what he's trying to work on. So it's kind of a oscillation where he's like, "Oh yeah, how's it going?" And then he's like, "Wait a minute, I'm talking about pick and roll. We're talking about this."
Right. He's very super detailed, but at the same time, I felt like when each person was asking him a question, he kind of separated you or whoever was asking the question. He separated himself and that person, and it made it seem like he was just only him and that person were having a conversation instead of, like some coaches they'll get asked a question and then they just respond in such a generic way that you're like, who is he talking to? He just, it's real intimate kind of like, he just makes it about you and him in the moment.
Yeah. Well, and you heard some of the guys, Dante and all them say, what they like about Mosley is that he'll know everybody from the security staff to the wait staff to, the radio guys, ask them about things, details, that kind of thing. And it seems that comes off, on the court. We look back to that moment he had with Devin Kennedy, kind of.
Yeah, that was special. That was special.
We'll get into that a little bit later and all. But it's just, it seemed like you really connect with people and all. But it was cool that you experienced that same thing,
Yeah, especially because, I asked about, the progression with RJ and Caleb from preseason to now. Or I'm sorry, from Summer League, to the end of preseason. And, he looked straight at me and he was just like, this is what it is. And, like I said before, it felt like it was just me and him in the room. And, answer my question, and it was, you know, that type of vibe and energy from a head coach like that will make his players want to do the extra things that it takes to, really have the team succeed in the long run.
It's probably a really big reason why the team is so connected with him as a player. I mean, as a coach, like all the players talk about their connection with him, and he seemed to like bond really well with the team really quick and early. I mean, like taking it back to last season, within his first week, him and Mo Bamba are on the court together. And that was just one photo. There's other guys probably working out with him and doing meetings and dinners and stuff like that. Like within that first couple of weeks, we just saw the one photo of Mo, but it's happening with other players as well. But I want to touch back a little bit to your question there, CJ. So, pulling back the curtain a little bit, the three of us are in a text chain. We're typing questions and thoughts to you as you're there to just kind of like start jogging some ideas into your head. As it just a collaborative space between three of us that are involved in the night. And so you ended up asking a question, which was a great question about RJ Hampton and Caleb Houston with their progression from summer league to now at that point. And I guess why did you want to ask that question? Because that was not that it mattered by any means. I could care less if you asked anything that like I presented or Malik presented. That doesn't matter at all. The question more is like, why was that the inspiring question for you at that time? Do you have like, were you particularly watching RJ and Caleb from summer league to there? Is that why that kind of sparked that question for you?
So going with Caleb first, I liked him coming out of Michigan.
Okay.
I was hoping that he would be there with our pick, like regardless of if we promised to pick him or not.
Interesting. Okay.
Pre-draft. So he was one of my favorite guys going into it. And also with RJ, you just wanted to see him like get better from summer league because
it was rough.
Obviously, it was rough. And to be honest, like most of it was like, why is he even playing? Because he's
discouraged.
He's like 3 or 4, almost 4 years in. So there was one of those things. It was like, why is he playing? But also just I asked because Coach Mose comes off with that fatherly figure type thing. So I wanted to see how he felt about RJ, being that he's had some time to, kind of work with him and get used to just, being around Caleb for a couple weeks or so now. So just wanted to see how he felt about the guys, especially the younger guys that might not be like starters per se right out of the gate. So
sure.
Just want to get his opinion about, how he felt about the younger bench guys.
Well, I think it was a very smart question because, like last year, there was a lot of like up and down, mostly down moments for RJ Hampton. And then summer league where we thought maybe he would kind of dominate a little bit more. He was kind of asked to really be this like the primary ball handler and offense initiator for when he was on the court, and it went really bad. I think most everyone would agree there. There was, he did a couple like little things well, but for the most part, it was atrocious. And then we see him in summer league, and he was one of the most consistent players on the court in summer league. He had, I think it was 22 assists to 6 turnovers.
6 turnovers,
which is super impressive. He looked a little bit more confident, in my opinion. He looked a little bit more, not confident, just polished, finishing around the rim. And it looked like things slowed down. Now, one thing I thought was pretty helpful in those situations is he was often paired with someone from the starting unit. Like Franz. At least, particularly in this last game, I didn't watch the first couple of preseason games. I only watched the last couple of games, but this last game specifically versus the Cavs, it was most of the time there's Franz on the floor with him, which I think really helps kind of take some of the playmaking pressure off of him.
Allows him to be a shooter, 3-and-D type play.
Yeah, man. I thought it was a really good preseason for him. So for you to like then ask that question and get the response from Coach Mosley. That's, he's also really impressed with the progression that they've made. Like it kind of felt full circle there, man. I thought that was great.
Yeah, and also helped his performance at the end of the game. He made a turnover, and then he was able to have a chase down block. Like, that's huge for him because maybe last year he would have hung his head and not got back on defense.
Sure.
So that also kind of really sparked the question because RJ had such a good game, good performance to end the game.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I wonder with young guys like that, like how you kind of stay the course. Like you said, like if in summer league, because even the first couple of games for Caleb Houston, he shot the ball well, and then he kind of trailed off. So to see him kind of shoot the leather off the ball in preseason was nice to see. I do want to have that caveat. It is preseason.
Totally.
Right.
We've seen guys ball out in preseason or summer league and then, not do the same thing in regular season. But that said, it's nice to see good things. I'm never going to look a gift horse in the mouth and be like, well, I'd rather see, people sit on their bottom and ruin things. It's better to see the good things. Now, when the regular season comes, what do? Are they able to duplicate those performances? And I do think it's wild that we have so many guards that have been hurt, including this past game, Suggs out, but we still have young guys coming up to the form like Caleb Houston and RJ, but also, Terrence Ross and Cole Anthony. You usually would not have three guards on the bench and be able to run your team, and you'd be like really screwed. You were trying to get guys like, I don't know, off the street, but we're actually able to have some competent backcourts out there. I mean, again, we'll see what happens in the regular season and all, but it kind of speaks to at least some of the depth. I mean, they're not killing it out there, but it's kind of nice to see,
I 100% agree. And then, see that depth like do well to an extent, and again, it's summer league, but I feel like with what we saw with RJ, with Caleb, with Ross, I don't see anything that scares me to think that it won't translate to the regular season. Okay, right? I don't think RJ's finishing at the rim is all of a sudden going to go back to what it looked like last season. Like that would be weird for it to regress back to something like that. Nothing looked abnormal to regression.
It looked translatable, maybe. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong there, but like, there's nothing there that scares me. That's like, and really with any of our guys, I mean, maybe they get like flustered by certain schemes and systems that other teams are running, and they don't know how to respond. And maybe we do hit a losing streak, and it's a little bit harder for us to get out of it for some reason, though. Like that. That's more or less what I expect to be different than the preseason. Not so much like is the game slowed down for RJ? I get it. Maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe I'm like putting too much faith into like the growth we saw in preseason. I mean, I probably shouldn't, but like he wasn't doing anything like super flashy for me to be like super concerned about. Does anyone else have that feeling, or is that just me?
Well, I think it's definitely possible that everything is translatable. I think there's always an raising of intensity. There's preseason, then you ratchet it up for regular season. You ratchet it up for, down the stretch to the playoffs, and then you ratchet up once again in the playoffs. And each time, young players are always kind of have their eyes open and like, wait, I thought that was the real thing. It's like, no. This is the real thing. This is the real stuff. Yeah. And all of a sudden, it's like, or get to like game 7. Like game 7s really test your mettle and show what you're made of as a player. Sure. There's plenty of players who are ballers in games 1 through 6 who game 7 came and all of a sudden they shrank from the moment. So that's all I mean. Not that they can't do it, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. I can't wait to see it. It's a tremendous opportunity. I've been burned before.
I think for me though,
I'm just hoping.
I think for me, Malik, the difference there is like, I think it depends on the player. Like I could see that being a moment thing for Caleb. But for RJ, this is year 3 for him. He's experienced NBA speed for 2 seasons now. He's experienced NBA intensity on a tanking shitty team for 2 seasons now. And maybe like if we get into the play-in, which is a long shot,
A long
but
way away.
possible. Maybe not,
Right.
maybe not. I don't know. But if we get into the play-in, maybe some of that shifts a little bit as that basketball does intensify. But like, I think for regular season intensity, I don't think for RJ specifically, like that's going to change. Now, maybe for the other players that don't have as much experience, Caleb Houston, Paulo to an extent, even a player who's been in the league for 3 or 4 years, but has hardly played bowl to an extent. Like he's got 20, 30 games as an NBA player in 4 years.
It's 43, but
Yeah.
he's barely played.
It's not much, so like maybe if he's with us in a bigger role, like if he is a part of the second unit on a somewhat regular basis, like
it's all going to be
not just like garbage minutes, like maybe there could be some speed intensity issues there. But for like RJ, I don't know, man. I feel like I hope we see the maturity and growth.
Me too.
That it hasn't shifted being his third year, and he played a lot of minutes last season.
Yeah. And one thing Coach Mose was talking about during the press conference was giving the guys little bits at a time. Like, not giving them, overwhelming them with opportunities. So just, I guess, conquering the small things and just building on each, building block instead of just letting them run wild. So hearing that response from Coach Mose, lets me know that these guys aren't just thrown in the fire. You get an opportunity to just build on the little moments. So maybe this preseason for Caleb and RJ, they can just take that to success in this and just keep building on it. And most coaches, I know back in the day, most coaches would break the season down into like 20 games.
Gotcha.
So you got 20, 40, 60, 80. You just build on that 20. Here comes the next 20. You just keep building blocks, keep building on those things like that. So I definitely can see the consistency for RJ being there. But Caleb's a rookie, so, he's expected to have his rookie bumps. But
totally.
But
Paul to an extent too.
Yeah, I can see it. Especially going from Duke, where kind of shared the ball a lot, to, I guess, playing with us and operating in different places. But I will say this, though. Paulo's a big dude.
Yeah.
And just once he learns how to play with his body and be more physical, he can get to anywhere on the court that he wants to. There were some times where he'd be on the wing and he'd get to the rim and he'd play small instead of just being 6'10", 250. Let me just lay the ball in. He tried to up and unders and stuff like that. So I think he'll have those rookie slumps in the middle at the beginning of the season, like, toward the middle of the game where, he gets kind of fatigued. But like I said, once he figures out that he's 6'10", 250, like from the tip off to the last horn, I think he'll be okay.
I just feel like, there might be a little something like we experienced with Cade Cunningham last year. There was
the rookie wall.
Maybe hopefully not as bad as that. I mean, Cade had a really nice season, so there's no disrespect there, but there was definitely a while where you could tell it was his first time in the NBA on a really awkward team. Our team is a little bit more solidified. At least I feel like it is. Maybe not.
Yeah, we definitely have a pecking order.
But it's funny, man, because like Paulo is fucking huge, like you said.
Yes.
And I think something I noticed, and Philip Rossman Reich has also said this a couple of times on his podcast is I love Paulo's passing. I think that was such a high his high level passing was such a big piece for me on why he was ranked above some of the other guys in the draft to go along with his scoring. But I want him to have more takeover moments. And I did always see that. I want him, once he gets that confidence and get some few moments under his belt, I want him to, just take over a quarter, and really just use his size and his will to get buckets, and not always defer to a teammate and pass, or maybe not even defer. Maybe it's more just trying to get others in rhythm so much. I want to, there's a balance to that. And I want to see that man get some buckets. And he did get some buckets, but I want him to like,
he has a very sneaky 17 points.
So sneaky.
You blink and you be like, he only had the ball 5 or 6 times, but he has 17 points.
And I think he can have, like, I feel like those sneaky 17 could have easily been 23, 24.
For sure.
You
for
know,
sure.
I think that's where I'm like trying to focus that.
Yeah, because he scores he's similar to Franz. They score in the rhythm of the offense. They rarely just go ISO and just break the rhythm of the offense. But hopefully we can do a little more ISO with Paulo, like we've been experimenting with Franz.
He's got that skill level.
For sure. 100%.
It's interesting. Like, one thing I take from the preseason and watching our three bigs, our three versatile bigs out there, and Paulo, wCJ, and Franz, is it seemed to work well together, even though Franz just got here, obviously. Paulo and wCJ were playing some maybe over the summer, but Franz was over in Germany, balling it up, being Franz Wagner over there. You know what I'm saying? And then he came here and he was resting, So for the few games he played, he obviously played the first game, sat out a game or so, and then played again. They looked really good together. They were picking and rolling together. We already saw, the Franz wCJ connection, but Paulo was passing to him. They're passing back and forth. And for a team that has had so many years where the offense has been the problem, last year, once again, dead last in offensive efficiency. I know some people are worried about a backcourt of Cole Anthony and Terrence Ross as a starters, possible or probable starters tomorrow, because they're going to maybe be exploited defensively. At some point, I'm like, man, I just need to have a better offense. Like, we can't be dead last every year. So to add Paulo, to add Cole in his third year, to add Terrence Ross, who's looking as good as he's ever looked, he's being more efficient out there and stuff. Can you get to that 20 range? Can you get to that 15 range just on a game-by-game basis and stuff, and let the defense, take care of itself? I mean, like, you can buckle down and maybe play some zone or do whatever it is, but can we not, pull our eyelashes out watching ourselves on offense? And it was just, like I said, it was just nice to see some offensive firepower going off already. The inverted offense stuff going through Franz, through wCJ, through Paulo, Cole Anthony setting screens, rocking Evan Mobley on a back screen out there.
I saw that was
it was just stuff that they obviously just put in now. They weren't doing that last year. They were doing dribble handoffs, and everyone was like, does Coach Mosley know anything besides dribble handoffs? It turns out he does. He has other things in his bag that he wants to try, and you're seeing it, front and center in the preseason. Those are the things that really encourage me that we might have some offensive wrinkles and some things to go off of and to build on, because again, we don't even have Markelle Fultz back. We don't have Gary Harris back. We're doing this with kind of a shoestring budget and a makeshift crew, so to speak. So that's what really excited me.
No, I agree there, man. I want to touch back to the point you were making about, like, let the defense figure out itself. Let's get some offense going. And man, we kind of like hit on this, like, the larger topic. We're not going to get into that right now, but like in Zach Lowe's article, when he was doing League Pass and he was hitting the Magic section, like, he reminded everyone the Magic have been a bottom 10 offense for the last decade. Like, yo, that's really embarrassing. Can we not do that?
Since Dwight.
The same with 3-point shooting percentages and all that stuff. And all that goes into, like, your offense. Like, I agree with you, Malik. Like, I'm not worried about Terrence Ross, Cole Anthony defensively and the starting unit to start the season. Like, it's going to get itself ironed out when a couple healthier guys get going. Marco Fultz, Jalen Suggs. But at the same point, like, Terrence Ross engaged, putting effort in on defense, he's at least not a zero, right? I mean, he's like kind of a neutral, not a negative on defense. And then I wouldn't say he's necessarily a positive, but he's not necessarily a negative. Cole Anthony, he's got some more size. Let's see if he can use that to his advantage this season defensively to be a little bit better defender with his, disadvantage of his height, being a little bit of a smaller guard. So I'm looking forward to seeing if we can be, I'm not going to say they're going to be world-class defenders being in the backcourt together, but like, can they not be as bad as we think they're going to be, I guess.
Right. Just be a neutral instead of being a negative.
Please.
Yeah.
Let the offense be
that's what I'm
balling.
hoping.
And I will say though, during the game, like just watching it live, the ball was just zipping from side to side. It was some points where guys were just they had the open shot, but you can tell that they're want to see each other do better, so they're passing off open looks. And one time, I think they swung the ball around the court, and T. Ross ended up with it and made it 3. I think it might have been in the third quarter. But man, that jump was beautiful in person. T. Ross shot's beautiful, man.
It very much is. It very much is. Now, I want to touch on something real quick and kind of just shift our thought process for a second. Jalen Suggs was announced yesterday or maybe the day before, last couple of days,
like Sunday or Saturday.
That he'll be available for opening night. No minutes restrictions, which is really, really nice to see. We've seen we've seen Cole Anthony and Terrence Ross start the last couple of nights, or last couple of games. Do we think with Suggs coming back that he's going to take a Cole spot or a Ross spot, or do we think they keep that same starting unit since it had some success in preseason last couple of games and run him into the second unit? With that, Malik, I'm going to pass this to you first, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on Suggs and his reintegration to the lineup.
Well, I mean, to me, I with no hesitation, I would have Suggs coming off the bench. I would also do what I've said for quite a while is stagger Paolo Banchero and or Franz Wagner with the second unit, so that whether it's Suggs or RJ, whomever, one of those kind of big creative wings is out there with him to take pressure off, to be able to handle some of the offense, that kind of thing. And I think in that role that both Jalen Suggs and RJ have a chance to really thrive out there. Again, it's not saying that they won't be handling the ball. It's just that it'll be more on a secondary and tertiary and team-oriented role. I also think that Jalen Suggs still needs to get up to speed for the regular season. You know, the game and a half or however long he had to play, that wasn't enough to get things going. And I also think he's such a hyped individual. He goes off of energy and physicality that if you start him out there, he might be out there running with his head cut off for that first game, especially having been out and thinking maybe his season might have been over or sidelined for a long time. But coming off the bench, he can have a targeted role. Hey, whoever's hot, you're guarding them, kind of do those things. I think he can thrive in that. And then if he plays well, you could expand the role and have more minutes out there, like that kind of thing. So to me, it's a no-brainer to have him up off the bench. And if he earns more, if in the coming games you're like, wow, this guy needs to start, then you can elevate him. But if he comes out and he struggles and you need to bench him, then that's an entirely different kind of a mindset and a confidence thing. It's like, oh, I did something and I failed, rather than, hey, I was faithful with a little and then I was given a lot. So that's kind of where I take it from.
CJ, what about you, man? Do you think he should be a starter, or do you think he should come off and be with the second unit?
I definitely think he should come off with the second unit. Just give him, a couple games just to get his, get adjusted again to the speed of the game. I mean, like we all know, like you get hurt and then, coming back off injury, you try to do too much, kind of throws your rhythm off, so you're not having – and it's the beginning of the season, so you don't really have that chance to just, take it easy and get back into the swing of things. I would bring him off the bench for the second unit and have, Franz as point Franz, and have, Jalen defend, I guess, the better of the backcourt. Just kind of creates a little bit more balance as we get used to different lineups. Like Coach Mo said, no lineup is set in stone. So
yeah.
I think it would do Jalen some good to come off the bench and kind of create balance. That way he doesn't have to overdo things and lose confidence if he's not being successful.
We are all three in sync, because I've been saying Jalen Suggs should be coming off the bench since last year, when we started talking about this season.
And I fought you on it. I fought you on it for sure.
You did for a while, yeah. And I mean, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like I want more shooting in the starting unit and with Gary Harris, and like allow Suggs to even before his injury, like allow Suggs to blossom into a playmaker, and getting his offense a little bit more under control against easier second units, if you want to call it that. Just not non-starters. And then as he earns, trust as a player, and doing well with that second unit, then maybe he takes over the starting shooting guard spot at some point. So coming off the bench after this injury seems natural to me. I don't mind Cole as a starter. He's not bad. He's grown, and I want to see what kind of growth he can have there. I think the question is, would not that he would take Cole's spot, would he take Ross's spot? And I don't want him to. I want to see Ross light it up and help space the floor in ways that Suggs is unproven to at this point. So,
and I think with the backcourt of Cole and Ross, you kind of see the blueprint that would help Franz and Paolo be more successful, having the ball in their hands more as playmakers and utilizing their best strength, which is passing and creating for others. So the Cavs game is kind of like the blueprint, in my opinion, that will make it successful if we, ever got guys in the backcourt that actually can shoot the ball at a high clip.
Malik and CJ, is Bol going to be in the rotation? I'm not even coming with attacks. I'm being peaceful here. Honest question. I have thoughts.
I feel like to begin the season, I feel like he will be. Again, it's so hard to tell what is preseason experimentation, what is preseason seeding, and what is intended for the regular season. There's three guys that their roles to me are in flux, whether it's Bol, Chuma Okeke, and Caleb Houston, even RJ to some extent, in that in the preseason you saw them each experimented in different ways. You saw Okeke at the 3 more than the 4 than you had him last year. You had Bol playing some at the 4. They even had a big lineup where he seemed like he was almost on the wing. Caleb Houston was out there nailing threes. He was some at the 3, some at the 2, and RJ obviously playing backup point. Do you want those guys during that regular season? I don't know. That's what I want to see. I think all of them would be given some opportunity, but I just don't know. I mean, because there were times when it seemed like, okay, they're playing Bol, but obviously Moritz Wagner would have helped them more in the situation. He's a more proven thing. But That's kind of the point, is that Bol hadn't played since January of this year. And when he played, he only played a little. He had barely played over 20 minutes ever in his career. So you really needed to not only see what you had, but also see if you can get this guy back in playing shape. And you saw him growing from game to game. You saw him addressing some of the concerns you had about him as a player, playing through contact, showing a smile, showing a joie de vivre for the game, actually, going for extra rebounds and motor. Like, wait, Bol to motor, these things do not compute. This is not what we saw in high school or the stories we heard at Oregon. But you actually saw him with Mosley, with this group, that maybe he's coming out of his shell. Now, again, was that something you just had in the preseason to see how it goes? And now it's like, okay, now we're going to let everybody else play and everything like that. But I think you're going to see him trot it out there and then see how it goes. But I'm just very curious. I don't know. What do you think, CJ?
I think he's earned, minutes. Definitely from the first preseason game up until the last preseason game. Every time he's been on the floor, he's been hustling, putbacks, blocks. He's always, to me, I feel like he's always in the right spot, regardless of, if he makes a play or not. He's just in position. Defensively, never falls asleep. He's always, he knows his assignments. And, for us, that's a big thing because he has such a huge wingspan. He can, protect the rim pretty good. That's one of the things that we definitely need when we play this, because our guys with 6'10", 3 guys at 6'10". So whenever he, bowls on the court, he's 7'2", 7'3". So we actually need a little bit of rim protection.
They did have to play a little more zone with him, it seemed like. I think guys kind of blew by him here and there, but definitely
right.
I wanted to push back a little bit on him being in the right spot defensively too. Like,
I
think he was more flashes in the right spot.
Right. But, he's more of a 5. I don't think you want to see him guarding threes for sure. But as a 5 and spot minutes, I think he'll be okay. If you have moments where, hey, we need like 3 or 4 minutes of bowl just at the 4 or the 5, I think he, definitely earned a chance to show that he can build on the preseason. But I just like his motor. He just always hustling, whether it's
just so weird to me.
Yeah.
Like, who is this guy?
Yeah, because you hear, when he was in Denver, you heard that he was just a lazy player. Like he didn't really care about basketball.
Same in college.
Yeah, but just to see him in preseason in 4 games with us, it's like, who is this guy? You know what I mean?
I mean, he's healthier than he's been. I mean, he's now had surgeries on both feet, which is both good and bad news. It's like the good news is that he's got surgery on both feet. The bad news is he's had surgery on both feet.
And he's 7 feet plus tall.
And he's smiling and stuff now. You never like he has personality. Like I don't know. It's just weird to see, man. But
he
still wasn't smiling. Today? Yeah, the team photo he wasn't smiling again.
Right, but any other time, yeah. When it mattered, he didn't smile. So
yeah, I think before Suggs came back, there was definitely a shot of him being in the rotation, meaningful. Like, but now that we have Suggs back, starters Cole, Ross, Franz, Paulo, Wendell Carter Jr. Backups or second unit Suggs. I'm gonna throw RJ at the 2.
Yeah.
Franz, Paulo, or Chuma, Bamba. So, like, it's getting pretty tight there. It depends on how big
that backup 4. I think is the question or not. I mean, like whether they're gonna because Moritz is out. So
yeah, but at the same point, if they want Chuma at the 4, or if they bring in like Paulo or Franz to run part of the second unit, like if Chuma is the more trusted player and they want to feed into his development too. I don't see this team being an 11-man lineup, like an 11-man rotation. And unless I feel like at this point, until either someone gets injured, he's kind of like going to be, I just have more faith in Chuma. Like, I mean, that's just,
I have hope in Chuma. I'm layering some, but I have hope.
There's
maybe more situational.
I think Bull's going to be like that, like spark plug when you kind of need to change things up, and it wasn't necessarily planned, but like let's try something different to see if we can get some new things going. So
he was kind of eating some of Bamba's minutes here and there. It seemed like when I don't know if the coach was kind of frustrated at Bamba's play here and there, but there were a couple of games in the preseason where Bamba didn't play in second halves. Now again, it might have just been experimentation. It also might have been frustration with seeing or not seeing things that Mo was doing. But again, will that carry on in the regular season? Was that just something that, hey, listen, I want to see what Bull has? Yes. Because Bamba, again, just like Moritz is more of a known quantity and all. So like I said, I'm really curious to see. I have my guesses and all, but I think that you're going to still see him out there some because in terms of upside, he's a guy who at least we don't know what he might be. We know his weakness and that kind of thing. Yeah. But it's kind of like I think they're going to want to at least add a little water each game and see how it germinates. Now the moments there are going to be some ugly moments out there because his center of gravity, his sometimes feel for the game is kind of iffy and stuff. Yeah. But I think we're going to still see him out there. And like I said, I don't even know. I don't know if OKK is going to show what we want to see. Caleb Houston has done great in small minutes. I kind of want to see more of him. But
definitely.
You don't want to burn him out, but it's nuts, man.
The team kind of reminds me of the Dwight era teams where we had such a deep bench. It was like Petrus, Barnes, Bass, Ryan Anderson, Todd. You know what I mean? It kind of like situational basketball. So if we needed to play big off the bench, we bring in Bass. If we needed to stretch the floor, we bring in Ryan. So I kind of get that vibe with this team moving forward.
It'll definitely be interesting. Coach has got some decisions to make. The front office has some priorities to set on who they want to see, they might have seen enough of Chuma in the last couple of years, and they are ready to invest more into Caleb Houston and Bol and want to give them Chuma's minutes or something like that. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens. I not even trying to be a hater. I think Bull's going to be like a breaking glass of a case of emergency type of situation. I just think they're going to try and win a little too much this year than try and get too experimental. I know they want to take that next step and, level up as Coach Mose always says.
Right.
I don't know if, I don't know, like let Bull earn his minutes in practice, can continue to show it that way. And then when he's, gotten there, and maybe he has, I don't know, we're there. So, let's wrap up this episode real quick. Let's do a quick round of rapid fire. Guys, I'm gonna ask each of you a question. I'll kind of rotate back and forth. We're gonna do the Magic Team Awards just right off the bat. All right. So,
Gotcha.
Let's start with Coach of the Year, Malik. Who on the Magic is gonna win Coach of the Year?
Brett Brillmar. No, it's Coach Mosley. I mean, there's only one coach. What are we talking about?
It's a warm-up question.
Right.
All right. Well, I'm actually going to start it off with CJ. CJ, who do you think would win the Magic's Most Improved Player Award?
Oh, man, that is a good one. RJ, for sure.
Okay.
Gotta go RJ. Gotta go RJ.
Malik, what about you, man?
I think I'm going to go outside the box. I'm going to say the most improved player is going to be one Franz Wagner, which sounds wild because he was already great last year. But I think the things that he does from first year to second year is going to take even another leap. I saw more rebounding in this preseason. There's a concern that I had last year because in the head-to-head comparison between him and Scotty Barnes, that was one place where Scotty was actually head and shoulders above him in terms of his rebound rate. Rebound rate was very low. But in the preseason, you saw a little bit stronger Franz. You saw him banging in there. You saw him bringing the ball up the court and being the primary initiator on numerous times down the stretch of games. Being more aggressive, taking threes off the dribble, that kind of thing. So I'm going to say Franz Wagner, most improved player, which to me takes him to being a fringe all-star if there are a couple of guys hurt in the Eastern Conference. So that's my crazy take for that. That's what I would say.
Very rapid fire.
That.
I like
that. I like that.
I think I'm going with Wendell Carter Jr. I just think there's too many people. I know there's some select media that has already noticed and pretty high on him. But I think with a good bill of health, he's going to put himself on the map and just like show people like I ain't fucking around anymore. This is we are the Magic and we're here. So cool. We got RJ, we got Franz, and we have Wendell Carter Jr. for most improved. Let's go to Sixth Man of the Year. Malik, rapid fire to you first.
Sorry about that. Sixth Man of the Year. So coming off the bench, when everyone's healthy,
hey,
let's go with, gosh, I want to say Cole Anthony, but I think he might end up starting. It's a tough one. I want to say Chuma Okeke, but I'm worried about what he's going to bring us. I don't know. Let's go Cole Anthony, just because I do think he's going to take a leap this year. He easily could have been most improved. I think people are sleeping on him. He started off so great last year where there was even some wild talk from Magic fans about him maybe earning an all-star berth and that kind of thing. It was obviously wild, but how low some people have gotten on him, how dismissive they are of him as possibly being an efficient offensive player or being able to somehow hold his own a little bit defensively, become a little bit of a better passer. Like all he has to do is become a little bit better at a number of areas, and that's a really valuable player. A guy who can create off the dribble threes that, the cheat code of the NBA, he doesn't even look for all that much. Like he could shoot a lot more of those at his rate. I think Cole Anthony to me is a guy who can, once again, not only be an improved player, but be a six-man type of a guy and really show his worth and go into maybe extension talks for next fall. CJ, rapid fire. Hit it.
Suggs.
I like that.
Suggs.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Suggs. I mean, I think, just a season of just one being healthy and just having consistent minutes with a solid bench group, I think he'll be, 6-man.
I think Suggs might end up, depending on what trades could happen this year, I think he might end up being a starter if he improves the way I expect him to improve. And maybe I should have picked him for most improved player. But I think I have to agree with my man Malik here, with Cole being the super six man of the year and just kind of owning that role. Gosh, what other defensive player of the year? Let's go. Rapid fire, CJ.
JR.
Damn, I like that. Malik,
Yes, sir.
rapid fire.
Jalen Suggs. Jalen Suggs is already one of the best definitely best perimeter rookie out there last year, and he's going to show himself to be one of the best perimeter defenders in the league this year. I mean, not relatively speaking at all, being a game changer on that end and show his mettle.
I'm going Wendell Carter Jr. The dude is a versatile defender. He's like he can guard the perimeter a little bit. He can, different type of rim protector, and he can do that as well. And I think he just continues to show his versatility and works really well defensively next to Paulo and Franz. So I think he is going to be our defensive anchor and be our defensive player of the year. But both excellent options, and can't go wrong with either one of those because they're fantastic. What other awards am I missing? Most points scored, Malik. Offensive player of the year.
So you'd be like, who was our leading scorer?
This is an award I've wanted the NBA to do. Outside of MVP, we have a defensive player of the year, so let's go with offensive player of the year.
Right.
You can write your own
Makes sense.
definition. So rapid fire, Malik.
I flip a three-sided die with Paolo, wCJ, and Franz, their leading scorer all the time. I think Paolo's going to end up being our leading scorer just because he gets to the line so much. And I think he and Franz are both going to be 20-point scorers this year for the Magic. And that's going to be a lot of fun.
CJ, rapid fire, offensive player of the year.
Definitely going Franz. I think he gets up to 22, 5, and 5 this year.
Okay.
I think he gets to 22 this year.
I think I'm leaning with CJ on this one, going Franz. It's really hard for me not to go Paulo, but just the amount of offense they're running with Franz gives me the slight edge that he's going to have a few more opportunities to score the ball than Paulo. And that's just kind of where I think it lies, but I think it's going to be marginal for, I'm not even necessarily saying like who's going to score the most points, just offensive player, which that's kind of your own definition at this point, since it's a fake award. MVP.
And Franz will get some calls that Paulo won't get because he's a rookie.
Difference is, though, Paulo gets to the line a hell of a lot more than Franz does. Franz never gets to the line. That annoys the shit out of me because he's got the size and he got the ability. He just doesn't get.
I think he'll do it more this year, but
he's a little more aggressive.
Soak him up like Paulo will. Though.
That's where I want to see him improve the most, in my opinion, is getting to the free throw line. Where Paulo, he's going to get to the line all the time. I think he was getting to the line 5 to 6 times per game in preseason. Almost every game he had 5 or 6 points just off of free throws. So, I think that's going to be a difference in those two players right there. All right. Last and final award, MVP of the Orlando Magic. Kick it off to our fantastic guest, Orlando Magic contributor, CJ Hill. What's going on?
Going with Markelle Fultz.
MVP. Wow.
MVP.
Right.
I think he's the glue. I think he's going to be the glue that brings everything together. And I say that because Dallas has been searching for that off ball, that second ball handler that helps Luka kind of not overdo things as far as trying to be, the focal point of the offense. So I think Kel might be the guy that actually takes a lot of pressure off Franz and Paulo with the playmaking and just keeping guys organized and keeping the offense flowing.
Man, I thought you were about to say the Mavs and you brought up Luka as a future, like, hey, we're trading the most MVP Fultz for Luka. Perfect. Sign me up.
I'll talk to my man Walt, man, about that. I'll feel,
Please do. Yeah, shoot him a text.
Slide
those DMs.
Right. We gotta have a little powwow. see what I can do for the squad.
Malik, who's your MVP, man?
Same. Markelle Fultz. I think he's gonna be the MVP because he does so many things. At an engine that's kind of able to make things go. I think he's going to be a playmaker on defense as well, being able to gamble with the big guys behind him. I think the team really responds to him. They love his story as a guy who's fought back from injury, who's fought back from injury again, as taking adversity from different places, that kind of thing. I think when he comes back and is part of this team, I think you're going to see something really special. A guy who's willing to go out there and say 4 seed and then, have to prove it on the court, that kind of thing. So I definitely believe 4 seed Markelle Fultz is MVP for me.
For my, I have a hard time saying Markelle Fultz when he literally wasn't even mentioned by any three of us for any of the other awards. So I just have a hard time, I don't know. Markelle Fultz is going to be awesome, and I understand he's very much a connector for this team, but I think I'm going Franz Wagner for MVP of the Orlando Magic. I think we live in a wings world right now. I think he is going to be the primary creator for us. I feel like the ball is going to be more in his hands in some aspects than Fultz. Fultz is going to be having to play a little bit more off ball this year, which is good. I want to see him play more off ball and see if his game can develop there. He's a good cutter off ball, but I want to see if there's other areas that he can improve on as well. And I just think Franz takes that leap, man. And this is going to be his team, really soon. So that's who I'm going for. I almost went Wendell Carter Jr. there too for very similar reasons because of two-way stuff. He is such a vocal leader. Fultz is not a vocal leader in my opinion, at least though I don't know. He doesn't talk the way Wendell Carter Jr. talks. I feel like he's more of a lead by example type of leader. And I just think, Wendell Carter wants to be a vocal leader. And so that's kind of where maybe I'm leaning a little bit more that way. This does not mean I'm down on Fultz. Fultz is baller. He's a great connector. I think I see some things shifting a little bit with the Orlando Magic with an outbreak of Franz Wagner, point guard on the wing at 6'10". So, gentlemen, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. Let's enjoy the Magic. This episode is going to be releasing game day opener against the Detroit Pistons. I'm really excited, unless you're listening to this super late tonight when I post it at 2 a.m. Eastern time. But I'm super excited. I will be in Orlando in a few months. I can't wait to see you guys there as we organize some events for the Close Up Magic crew. And all you listeners, thanks for tuning into the show. I really hope you enjoy the regular season. Malik and I have really enjoyed bringing you content through the last 3 months of no man's land of not a lot of basketball action. Thankfully, we've had some great things to talk about during that time, some programs, some injuries, some other stuff with some good guests and things here and there. So thanks for dealing with us over the summer. We're just getting started. Remember what you heard in the beginning. We started a Patreon just for you. Everything that we make from that is going directly back to the fans and to the listeners and watchers of the show and to the production quality. So make sure you check out our Patreon page. And last and foremost, let's go Magic. Peace. Gentlemen,